What up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence podcast. We are an MMA podcast to let you know the MMA podcast, catch, skip, and can't miss, as well as we try and check out a new show. I am Pulver, and I'm back in the morning yet again with my co-host, Chris Madaffer. What up, dude?
Fucking good morning indeed. Good morning hangover.
Yeah, you were partying with the homie Nick last night, right?
Yeah, that's what happens when a good friend of yours comes into town you haven't seen in a while. So, it's just kind of inevitable at this point. And
yeah,
the degenerate alcoholic that I am, functioning alcoholic, I'll add. But,
Well, great segue, because why don't you start us out with your Doug Stan or Pop Up Vodka? I do it every time. Pop Up Vodka presents Doug Stanhope presents our super real sponsor.
So I have some coffee. This time it's some mid-grade coffee. Upgraded a little bit.
There you go.
Payday was today, so I anticipated that. And then also brought to you by. Oh, fuck! I just realized. Damn it! I didn't add Kahlua. I have Kahlua on top of my fucking fridge. I just realized that. See, that's why I'm still waking up. I might have to. I don't want.
Well, you know what? Why don't you go grab the Kahlua while I talk about my Pop-Up Vodka?
Let me go do that. I really need to add that to this right now. I'll be right back.
There you go. I might have to go grab some Kahlua here in a minute also. But I am drinking coffee. I am actually drinking White Russian iced coffee from Coffee Bean Direct, I guess. I don't know. I got it on a fucking cigar website for super cheap. It's all right. It's very light. It's light as shit. Hence the White Russian name, I'm assuming. It's super light, but it's not bad. I think with Kahlua it will be better. But I did actually plan ahead, and I figure if I'm drinking White Russian iced coffee, I should probably just make a White Russian also. So I did make a White Russian also. So yeah, Kahlua is very on brand for this, actually. So Chris, like I just said, since you were grabbing your Kahlua, which you're going to add right now, I'm drinking a White Russian iced coffee, whatever the fuck that means. And I also made a White Russian. So
this is like full to the top. Like it's literally been only opened once for everyone to see.
Nice.
There's a little coffee here.
I just went through a bottle of Kahlua not long ago because I was making a bunch of B52 shots.
Much, but, that's a good amount. That's a healthy dose.
That's what's up.
Cheers to you.
Yeah, cheers. This White Russian is okay. I put too much vodka.
That's much better. Okay.
Cool. Well, wow, it is 11 in the morning, and that White Russian is too strong. All right, cool. Well, why don't we go ahead and jump into format now that we've gotten our totally real sponsors out of the way? Evidently, Kahlua is one this week. I don't know. Chris, go ahead.
I said, yeah, no, that works.
Yeah, checks out. All right, cool. So why don't you start us off with the MMA podcast you recommend people catch this week while I go grab some Kahlua to add to my coffee?
So I have, I think, 3 catches this week. The first one is Fights Gone By with your boy Jack Slack. He starts off by saying UFC 240 card is hot diggity dog shit. I'll have to look at that card, but I think it's the one with Holloway and Edgar. I think he was just talking about every other card, maybe except for 3 are watchable, unfortunately. So there's that. He talked about just this past pay-per-view, 239 last week. He said Jack Marshman looked like he lathered fake spray tan all over himself. I noticed that. Of course, with the Yadong jokes, he says Yadong looks like it has great potential. But yeah, Song Yadong looked absolutely fantastic. That was a really good knockout.
Yeah, he looks really goddamn sharp.
Yeah, I think Alpha Male has found their new Cody Garbrandt potentially, as far as like a young prospect. Because I think Song Yadong's only like 22. So.
Something like that. He's pretty young for sure.
Jack would love to see John Lineker versus Mighty Mouse. I think John Lineker would like to see that too. Gilbert Melendez needs to be wearing slippers and toasting by a fire next. So yeah, retirement. Diego Sanchez hasn't always been this weird. There's a real chance once he's dead and they dissect his brain, he might have CTE. Why the fuck did he hire that hack of a coach? I noticed a lot of people talking about this. I noticed we tweeted about it, or actually you tweeted about it. That video with the guy.
It's fucking
I don't know what he's
ridiculous.
doing with that bag. But yeah, now that I thought about it, I went back and I just realized I had bought the pay-per-view on ESPN Plus. I think they let you rewatch it, which is
they do.
once you bought it, which is awesome. So that's big props to that. I never expected Dana would allow you to let you do that. So I watched that fight again, and yeah, he was like, crack the coconut. I was like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, Tyson him. I was like, what? What's going on? You know, you might as well say fucking Jedi mind trick or some dumb shit, you know? So, yeah, that
dude
was very
a terrible corner.
That was upsetting.
This coffee's so much better with some Kahlua in it.
Yeah, I just upgraded my coffee as well. He said Rockhold at one point looked like a world beater when he beat Weidman. Now his chin is completely gone. He kind of Jack was thinking about what happens next with Rockhold. Does he just take a shitload of time off? I mean, he already has that modeling money. So there's that. Masvidal versus Askren was insane. He really didn't have any thoughts on that, except for some more welterweight division thoughts. And there's some other podcasts I'll shout out to talk about the whole scope of that division. And it's really just contingent on the next what happens with Colby, pretty much at that point, if he has to win, and we'll kind of see what happens with that division.
Yeah, I think they fuck Kobe I think they fuck Colby regardless.
Yeah,
I think they just don't like that dude.
The only way Colby gets that shot, or maybe, and remember I was telling you, knowing them, they're just going to do Masvidal versus Colby while Usman says he's hurt, and I don't know if he's being Mr. Fake Newsman or what, but I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
Fucking fake news. I have no idea. Every time.
It is pretty funny. I have no idea what's going on with Usman, by the way. I don't know if he's hurt. Clearly, he must be sidelined because
he's coming off shoulder surgery, I believe it is. I think it was shoulder. He's
going to be gone still for a while. I think what definitely happens at this point is, especially if Colby wins, they're doing Masvidal. They're making each other try to fight, and they're going to put it and go, oh, we're homies, and then I don't know. They'll probably end up. Who knows? But
yeah, I'd be surprised if they do that. And it not being for the belt. Oh my god, that fucking dog.
Oh no, that's what they'll do. What they'll do is say Colby wins, and obviously this is hypothetical at this point. They'll do Masvidal versus Colby in December or some shit.
How funny would it be if it's an interim title fight?
No. Thank you. No, it will.
And Colby wins the second interim title, but he never gets to actually.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
But no, that's I actually am putting this out there right now. That's my prediction. Colby beats Robbie, and I'm dead serious. It's be Masvidal versus Colby at the end of the year for the interim belt, because then Masvidal gets his championship money, potentially, say he wins. So it helps both of them out. They're like, okay, we're both fighting for a belt. It's all business. So, I think that's 100% going to happen if Colby wins.
That's fucking interim belts.
What they'll do, if that's not in December, say that's in November or some shit, they'll do the winner of that unification bout versus Usman, early next year, March. I don't know. And they'll put it on a big card with John Jones, someone, you know what I mean? No, that's definitely going to happen. So that's my first catch. Solid episode by Jack.
Yeah, nice. That was episode 150, I think.
Yes.
Cool. So my catch for this week, I went back and forth on a couple, but the co-main event podcast Patreon live stream for UFC 239 is real good. All of their live streams are pretty solid. Chad is not even drinking any terrible booze, so I'm really upset about that. But it was just a really solid episode. Their reaction to, they did the classic Joe Silva reaction to the Jorge Masvidal knockout, where they both grab their head because it looks like they're trying to keep their brain from exploding. Pretty goddamn great. And just their takes during the whole thing, and them slowly realizing throughout the John Jones Thiago Santos fight that Santos probably won a couple of the rounds is real fun. And of course, Holly getting fucking smoked. That reaction was pretty wild too. So
I bet, it was funny. A friend of mine had texted me saying, "Hey, he's like, what are your thoughts on this Nunes home? Where does the fight end? When does it end?" I'm like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh, home is tough as shit. She survived Cyborg." I said, "Nunes, knockout round 3, 4, something like that." But no, Cyborg. I mean, Nunes just proves again, she could literally beat anyone at their own games. Kickboxing against Holly, Cyborg just basic brawling. Like it's nuts. Just how good Nunes is.
Yeah, she's wild as shit.
I don't know if anyone beats her really, except for maybe like some dominant wrestler or some shit. But even then,
yeah, I don't.
Has the coaching.
Yeah, and there's no 135ers that
Mike Brown in her corner. You know?
Exactly.
And Conan Silvera, I think.
Well, and she trains with a bunch of goddamn beasts down at ATT, so that's a fucking.
I know. She's not losing anytime soon.
For real.
At either weight class. At either way.
For real. Fucking the only person that could beat her is fucking the little dude Henry Cejudo who keeps running his mouth about wanting to beat up fucking Amanda Nunes. Just like, bro, not a good look.
Joking, but he's probably not.
I don't think he knows the difference.
Yeah, and goddamn it, that reminds me of my new flair on Reddit. Fuck.
Oh yeah, you texted me that beforehand.
Hey, but that Santos pick wasn't bad in hindsight because that was such a close fight. I mean, I almost gave that person a fucking great flair. It was, I can feel the picos down on my plums. Like who wouldn't want that? Now mine is fucking Cejudo's source of cringe. It's like, god damn it.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad one. That's all right. My flair on Reddit, or our flair, the show flair on Reddit, I believe is still I picked Evinger AMA, so which really could apply to any of Evinger's fights in the UFC at this point. And then
that reminds me of shouts out to Jake, Fred Jake, who's also in the fantasy with us. He texted me. He did a flair bet. Someone said, I got Ryan Hall, your flair. I'm the one convincing BJ Penn. He still got it. AMA. So that's going to be Jake said he loses. And he's like, I got Elkins. Your flair will be CTE with the boys.
Those are pretty fucking goddamn rough.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, yeah. So, I mean, the CME live chat, or not live chat, but the CME live stream for UFC 239 is just really good. Their Patreon in general is fantastic. They've been doing movies. Fucking Chad Dundas goddamn conned everybody into picking Roadhouse for the next movie commentary instead of Point Break, which how fucking dare you, sir? Point Break is way better. But
oh no, yeah, just way better in every fucking facet, except for that one line that always makes people go, "What the fuck?" Do a double take where the guy gets switched. He's I used to fuck guys like you in prison. He's like, okay,
yeah. To be fair, there's already been a fantastic commentary for Roadhouse, and that's Corolla's. By far the best one.
That does sound good.
Yeah, it's real solid. Cool, man. Well, we will keep on moving on. Do you have any podcasts to skip this week?
Yeah. Should I mention I had 2 other catches, but I can always be. I don't fucking.
Yeah. If you have more catches, go for it.
It's because I don't have a can't miss. Because to be honest, I listened to a couple podcasts and I didn't really hear anything that was like, oh, that's amazing. Cool. No disrespect to other podcasts, but I'll just breeze through it. The other catch is the A-Side live chat. They kind of open up saying, how will John Jones finally lose if he does? I mean, if you ask me that, I'd probably say it's going to be a heavyweight. But then I also have another theory on that.
That was Jose Youngs and Pete Carroll on that one, right?
Yep. On that Jones thing, would you say, based on how he fought against Santos, that's more a detriment to his camp just doesn't have it anymore as far as preparing him and he's just going off his own athleticism and fight IQ? Or do you think it's because we finally saw a volume power puncher kind of give him, I don't want to say fear, but kind of more like, oh shit, I got to stay away from this guy?
I think it was probably a combo of John Jones and the John Jones thing where he wants to beat the guy where the guy's good. And
like that ego kind of
that and Jackson Wink being weird nowadays, and actually for a while now, and the leg kicks 100%. Fuck Jones up bad early in that fight.
And then also, I remember someone made a good point. Other podcasts made a good point. Imagine John Jones at ATT, like mother of God.
Yeah, there was a couple people actually this week that specifically said John Jones should go to ATT, which I thought was interesting.
I'll say this: there was as far as how I scored it a draw. I thought it was a very close fight.
You and TJ are the only 2 people I've heard say that.
Because people are afraid to score or to draw. Like, dude, it doesn't. Like, yes, it's still not a loss. The champion keeps their belt, so technically it's like they're winning still. So it's just like
that second round and that fifth round were real close.
I scored it a fucking draw. I don't care what anyone else says. People are too afraid to score a draw. I think it was worthy of a draw, but that's my opinion on that. The only other thing is, as far as what we saw Jones against a power punch volume striker, the only other person that could make, I mean, yeah, there's up and comers like Johnny Walker. We keep throwing his name out. That dude still needs a couple of fights, but potentially, if that based on that guy's explosiveness and closing the distance, he could fucking give Jones some issues, especially with that length. Johnny Walker's got like an 81-inch reach or something stupid like that. Dude's
something like that, and he's crazy athletic.
Yeah. So that's all I have on that. They talked about how did the media score the main event compared to fans. Apparently, more fans scored it for Santos.
Yeah, but some of those media members, I heard motherfucker John Morgan actually, I think this week, which I like John Morgan a lot. And shouts out to Latchkey Brewing down here in San Diego, which he was drinking, I believe. But that motherfucker, I think it was him. I apologize if it wasn't, but I'm pretty sure he was the one that said he gave, was it him or Aaron Bronstetter?
Oh, Bronstetter was all on John Jones.
One of them gave John Jones all 5 rounds. And I'm like, bro, you can't. That first round. And that, well, I mean, I get it, I guess, but it wasn't like it. Those 1, 2, and 5 weren't super fucking competitive, if not for Santos. Yeah,
and real quick, I'll just say the other catch that shouts out to Bronster TSN. He had some really good interviews with Jermaine Uranimi and Uriah Faber. But he was just on his whole mindset of that, there's no excuse. This was terrible by Jones. He should have finished Santos in the first round. He should have just gone for a takedown. That should have been the fight. It's like, I mean, not when you're going up against someone who can knock your fucking block off. Yeah, like we saw how good Jones' chin really is. He got cracked behind the head. That one fucking looping right hook, like literally cracked him on the fucking ear. Like that knocks a lot of people out. He just took it.
Dude's always had a hell of a chin, and he survived those leg kicks somehow because those things were goddamn nasty.
Yeah, and I know there's some people who say, he looked like he was clean this fight. It's like, what?
Everybody says that every time he just doesn't happen to pop positive, which is like,
Like, dude, remember, he's pulsing, so technically he could be dirty.
Yeah, dog, he's pulsing.
Yeah, it's just so fucking dumb, dude. I just assume everyone's on fucking
dog.
Juice.
Nick Diaz told us a long time ago, all these motherfuckers are on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah, then another good point the Ace Dave made is Jan Blachowicz holds the key to the next title shot in the sense that some up-and-comer will have to beat him first. So unfortunately, he's kind of like a gatekeeper at this point in time. But they said wouldn't be surprised, though, if Dana just wants to give Jones, Blachowicz, or fucking Corey Anderson at this point. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen. And then it gets weird. They start talking about cyborg clones and androids for a while. I don't know what the fuck is going on there. Then they do hypothetical matchups. They said they think Masvidal beats Nate Diaz. They think Khabib beats GSP, but at 155, I don't know what the fuck they're talking. Like, dude, GSP's retired. Jones versus Francis Ngannou. They said, do fighters ever really retire? Look at who Tito's fighting. Yeah, that's embarrassing.
I mean, yeah, one of many things about Tito that's embarrassing.
Pete C. Carroll says Luke Rockhold is arrogant and cocky because of his good looks. Guy doesn't need to fight anymore. He's dismissive of Blachowicz all week. He got Bisbinged again. Yeah, that's what I have for that. And then I already mentioned the shouts out to TSN. Great interview with Jermaine Durandamy. Yeah, and then Aaron was just talking about his whole the welterweight division, Colby Masvidal. I already kind of talked about that in the beginning. So yeah, that's what I got for the catches. How about you?
Yeah, that was I just had the CME, but overall, yeah, there's a bunch of, I would say there wasn't a ton of shows this week. I feel like after big pay-per-views, a lot of times it's a pretty fucking slow week for MMA podcasts, but overall there was definitely some good ones. And I have a bunch of runner-ups that easily could have been a catch instead of the CME live stream. So why don't we get on to the skip? And I should give the Eugene S. Robinson style disclaimer that just because we say to skip your show doesn't mean we hate you or we hate your show. Might actually even like your show, but this episode was not worth the time it took to listen to it. So Chris, do you have a MMA podcast you recommend people skip this week?
Yeah, it's kind of more a half skip, mainly because this is kind of like a fight pick kind of show. Solid show. The guy has good analysis. Martian MMA. Haven't listened to this guy in a while. Can't remember.
Yeah.
It was good, but it was just kind of one of those you want to listen to this if you're just clearly looking like at Tapology or if you're just doing prop bets and shit.
Right.
He's definitely solid. Seems like he's kind of like a Dan Tom or MMA Takes kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it was solid. He had a lot of good points about a lot of these matchups. He's really stoked on Ryan Hall versus Darren Elkins. And then Josh Emmett versus Bektik. Those were his two fights he's looking forward to the most. And yeah, those are both very intriguing matchups stylistically. So he had a lot of praise for Bektik, and he thinks he's kind of his smothering style featherweight similar to Habib. And that look what he did to Lamas, which that kind of surprised me too. I remember that fight actually. But yeah, it's just a half skip only because I mean, and that's my fault. I kind of forgot that he's mostly just like an MMA takes kind of thing, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, and
I guess it's kind of fair.
Yeah, and on weeks like this, when the card's it's not the biggest card and there's not the biggest matchups, those shows it definitely, well, I appreciate them more because a lot of times they save me from having to do the tape study that I really don't want to do. And they can, I'll tell you right now, I did not do a lot of tape study for this card. But a lot of the dudes I'd seen fight a bunch of times before. So it's always, I like those shows for that kind of reason where it's like, oh, all right, actually, this could be a decent matchup depending on how both fighters go into it and what styles they're going to bring. So pretty dope. So my skip this week is actually kind of similar. It's the not TSN. It's the other Canadian MMA podcast. It's the Hammer MMA episode 462. I really like this show. Steve Jeffrey, Dave, and I forget the other dudes' names off the top of my head right now. They are, you know how everybody always says no one knows who the UFC rankings people are? They're one of the UFC ranking people. Which actually gives me some hope for the rankings sometimes, because normally Steve is, I know Steve is, I'm not sure about the other guys, but they're at least like fairly well acquainted with the sport and seem to at least kind of do the rankings correctly. But overall, it was a skip for me mostly because it was just a quick breakdown of this card coming up this weekend and a quick recap of last week's card. I don't know. It was fine. I didn't dislike it by any means, but didn't stand out to me as something that, like, if you miss it, I don't think you're missing a ton, honestly. But I like that show, and most weeks I'm a big fan of it. I think a lot of it also was just coming down to a lot of the John Jones discussion got kind of grating. So
yeah, I could definitely see that as well.
And how goddamn high they were on Aspen Ladd bugged the shit out of me too. They are so high on Aspen Ladd. It's that okay. Now I say that about the rankings before, but also this is how Aspen Ladd's just jumping up the rankings like in crazy ways and fighting GDR somehow.
So, yeah, what was she ranked? Not that the rank.
I don't know. Her last win was over Evinger, right? Evinger sure as hell wasn't ranked.
It's just probably just because Evinger's had a title shot, right? But that was like at 145.
I mean, yeah, she kind of got a title shot.
Never mind. I gotta look at the schedule here.
Oh, you know what? Her last fight was Sajara Eubanks. I forgot all about that fight. Where Aspen Ladd, I thought, lost that fight, by the way. And Sarge, I don't know if Sarge was ranked at 25. I wouldn't imagine she was.
No, she can't even make 125, so I doubt that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I see. Next week. Okay.
So that's what I had for my skip.
Okay, it makes sense though. So
cool, man. We will keep on moving on then. What's the MMA podcast you recommend people can't miss this week?
So I didn't have a can't miss, which is why
that's right.
3 catches.
So I'll jump into mine then.
Yeah.
As you guys heard on the intro, my can't miss for this week is the MMA Nerd. I should figure out what episode it is while I'm talking, which is going to make this weird. I really like this show in general. Ashley's hilarious. She's super nice on Twitter too. And this episode, I was really curious to see what this is going to sound like because she is unabashedly a huge Holly Holm fan. And this is episode 45, it looks like. Man, she took the Holly Holm loss rough, and it was really cool. It was fun to hear her kind of talk so honestly about it. She said she watched the Buffalo Wild Wings with her dad, and she said the Holly Holm loss was one of the most hurt she's been from a fight.
Oh, man.
That's a fight fan. And she said her dad kept making it worse while she's literally bawling in the Buffalo Wild Wings, which is fucking... I don't mean to laugh at her fucking pain and sorrow, but it's really goddamn funny.
That does sound kind of funny in context.
Yeah. Well, and the way she describes it is super funny too. She also described how she made her dad hate John Jones because she's been hyping him up all this time, and then that was the first John Jones fight her dad saw. And she talks a lot about everybody on Twitter like talking a bunch of shit about Ben Askren afterwards, just kind of gloating and being annoying about it. And they also talked about how Jorge, after he beat Ben, he did all the gloating and everything. You hear how everybody's talked about that this week. But she points out something really interesting. Nobody's saying shit about Jan Blachowicz doing the same thing to Rockhold.
Oh yeah, huh?
Yeah. It was like a fight apart, and no one's talking about it. It's real weird. And I think it's mostly because people don't like Rockhold, and people dislike Ben Askren in a different kind of way. So I don't know. It's plus the shit talking of Askren is very different than the shit talking of Rockhold. Mostly in that
one is Ben knows how to troll properly. He's not like actually going
right. Whereas Rockhold just seems real uppity.
Yeah, and he's just fucking. It just comes as condescending and conceited as fuck. So
yeah, he does, dude. I did not know.
It doesn't help that he's awkward as fuck. Like that dude's lucky he's a good looking guy because that dude's an awkward motherfucker. I remember just like dude at the fucking weigh-ins. He just like goes like he like sizes up Blachowicz just like your feet are tiny. Like what the fuck is that?
Evidently, that's what Jan Blachowicz yelled at him after he won too. It was how big are my feet now?
I think I heard that, and I swear to God, I think you can hear that audio. He's just like, "How big are my feet now?"
It's pretty great. I think Eugene S. Robinson brought it up. I knew that Luke Rockhold came from money. I didn't know he was the Dr. Zog sex wax guy. He's the kids of the people who started that. You know the
like,
surf wax?
The surf shit. The like he find in surf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I had no
that's
idea.
His family?
Yeah, I had no idea. Makes sense though.
Huh. Now that I think about it though, I remember on Embedded it showed him he was like at his parents' house. I'm like, dude, that's a nice fucking house. Like
His
really
parents
nice.
Are super
and
well
like,
off. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. So money does give you good looks too. Who knew?
Dude, it obviously does. Fucking Joe Rogan's looking younger and younger every goddamn year. Or he's looked the same since basically just after News Radio.
Dude, just look at the actor Paul Rudd. He's like 51. He's like 35. It's like
look at Tom Cruise. Yeah. Speaking of MMA fighters, Tom Cruise, that famous MMA fighter.
Oh, yeah. And Justin Bieber, who actually looks like he's aging at a constant rate.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Anyway. But yeah, it's just really interesting. I really liked the episode from Ashley. I thought it was super funny. And her poor Ashley's story of watching the Holly Holm fight at Buffalo Wild Wings was my favorite shit from this week. So I highly recommend checking out that show. It's a really good one. She also does some listener questions and talks about how MMA Twitter is overhyping the fuck out of Vlad, which, yeah, checks out. Cool, man. Let's see. Did you have any new shows that you listened to this week?
Unfortunately not, because I couldn't really find that many podcasts this week. I don't know, at least new ones.
Well, so one thing I promise you guys, we will next week talk about for our new show is Luke Thomas's new show that he's doing on Brendan Schaub's YouTube.
Yeah, he's with Showtime, right? Or some shit.
I guess, except not real Showtime. He's with Showtime on the internet on Brendan Schaub's Below the Belt YouTube. I don't understand it. Whatever. Okay.
Yeah,
I think the GIF I tweeted out when he announced it is pretty much my feelings about it, which is just like Brendan looking around, shrugging. I mean, it makes sense because him and Brendan, I'm trying to choose my words very carefully here. Him and Brendan are clearly friendly and clearly enjoy working together, so they're working together. I guess that is how I will phrase that, and I will move on from there. But we'll talk about that show next week because I honestly haven't listened to his new show yet, but I'm definitely curious about it. So my new show is The Man and the Myth, MITH, episode 1, which is the podcast from Sean Al-Shadi and the man in the hat, MITH, Chuck Mendenhall on The Athletic. They're putting out episodes about twice a week. I listened to the first one, which was taped on July 3rd. I think they're putting out episodes on Mondays and Wednesdays. On this one, they pretty much preview 239 since it was recorded before 239. Talk about whether Santos has a chance, whether Holly Holm is the last competitive fight for Amanda, and the idea that Amanda and John are on the same card, and later on, if we're looking back at it, that might be two of the best fighters ever fighting back-to-back on a card, which is pretty interesting.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And Askren, they also talk a lot about Askren shit-talking and George, God damn it, and Jorge not engaging. And then they talk a lot about Sean's piece he did on Bisping, just like a career retrospective on Bisping. And they kind of look back at some of this crazy shit that Bisping accomplished and fighting with one eye for fucking ever. I really liked it. It's a solid episode. It feels a lot like if you were to take the questions away. So if you were to take the A-Side live chat back when it was Sean and Mark, and you just swap in Chuck Mendenhall for Mark, and you take away the listener questions, it basically feels like that. It's a very similar show, just no listener questions on it. So I'm interested to see how that thing evolves. I think it'll definitely change over time. And it'll be interesting to see how much they go into like in-depth talks about stories they put out and stuff like that, because that could be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that reminds me. How much is The Athletic per month? I think it's subscription based.
It is. I don't remember off the top of my head because I
would imagine it's not more than 5 because it's digital.
I can't remember. I'll look it up while we're doing this.
Dude, there's a lot of talented sports journalists heading over there.
Fuck yeah, they've got a great team with Ben Folks, Chad Dundas, Sean, Chuck Mendenhall, Fernando Praches. All of them. I'm super excited for Fernanda's podcast. I can't wait for them to put that out. I actually did not buy The Athletic because I am a $10 patron of Co-Main Event Podcast, so I just got a year for free, which is a pretty goddamn great deal. You can start a free trial, and it is $9.99 a month or $4 a month if you buy the annual plan. It's $4 a month for the first year. So not bad.
I'll probably do that.
Yeah.
That reminds me.
I really like them
to start writing again.
Oh yeah.
I better start writing in a big portfolio because that's something I kind of want to do. I'd rather potentially write for just like an online service or something. I like that idea a lot because, as we know, newspapers are going just bye-bye, at least physically. So
what's a newspaper?
It's all digital. Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah,
but yeah, man, a lot of talent over there. It's good to see those guys over there as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how their podcast.
I just thought of that because
grow.
I just thought of that because there's still a really good sports writer. He writes baseball. This guy Dennis Lynn. I think he used to write for the Union Tribune or something like that. But he's with The Athletic now, and he covers the Padres. I read like some article today. I'm like, oh shit, that's right. Everyone's going over The Athletic. So
yeah, they're dumping money into it, so it'll be cool to see what that site looks like in a year or two. And the pieces they put out so far have been very good. I've only read the first handful of them. I'm still going back through them, but they're really, really solid. So pretty dope. Let's see. Do you have any honorable mentions this week?
Yeah. Let's see. Honorable mentions. Go to the MMA Vivisection.
Yeah, Vivisection was really good. Unfortunately, they didn't do one for Bellator and PFL, though. But, yeah, the one for the UFC.
Oh, that's right. Solid. Honorable mention goes out to Severe MMA.
Yep, I was going to bring up Severe MMA's Unification podcast was good, as well as the Severe MMA Interim podcast for UFC 239 that Sean did solo was really solid.
Another honorable mention to the Mookie and Crookie show. And that was it.
Sweet. Let's see. The only ones I actually listened to Ariel Helwani's MMA show, episode 53 this week. It was actually a really good episode. It almost could have been a catch for me. He had Arnold Allen, Mike Brown, Chiesa talking about Diego Oil checking him, Colby, Dominic Reyes and Jimmy Manawa and Askren and Ngannou and Israel Adesanya and Masvidal. Jesus Christ, that show.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lineup.
It's like 3.5 goddamn hours. It's so long.
Let me guess. Dominic Reyes wants to fight John Jones.
Yeah,
he's already ready to
shocking.
go. Yeah.
And Masvidal calls in looking straight up like a Fidel lookalike. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah. Between rounds did a round table for the card this weekend. That was really solid. It was Rob Tatum, Jeff Sherwood, TJ DeSantis, and Dean Thomas. It's really cool hearing Dean's take on fights that are coming up and his breakdowns. So I thought that was really solid. I highly recommend that. All the stuff Dean Thomas has been doing with TJ DeSantis over Between Rounds have all been really good. The Wocast, episode 121, was really solid. G talks about watching the card from Europe, which I thought was cool. And then they also did interviews with Dominic Wooding and Franz Malumbo, who are opponents that are going to be fighting in the near future. Just solid episode for sure. MMA Junkie Radio, episode 2956 was pretty good. Calvin Cater's in studio. He talked about his win over Ricardo Lamas and Jorge's crazy fucking knee. Masvidal then joins in studio. He keeps joking that it's disrespectful to keep talking about Ben since he's no longer with us.
That's funny.
He's pretty savage in this. Abe Kawa also comes on. They talk about whether Jorge is going to be next for Kamaru, and they said they're still kind of working out the details on that. And then Jorge explains the whole buffet comment about Ben, saying what happens when you eat a whole buffet? You go to sleep. Just goddamn savage. And then Cater's manager / coach also joined in studio for that one. Really solid episode. CME 362 co-main event podcast was good. Chad and Ben's bike ride to a brewery was pretty great. And the recap of Amanda Nunes, Holly Holmes, as they call her. Heavy Hands, episode 271 was really solid. Talk about how ATT is head and shoulders above everybody else at this point, and Jackson Wink's big fall off. Anakin Florian, episode 208 was solid. Kind of when they went and recapped the card, they had some interesting point. Kenny actually, I think the week before, was talking about how he was unsure of how Rockhold's chin would hold up at 205, which is pretty poignant. Dude on Twitter, what's your goddamn J1 something here? Let me pull it up because he's a great dude. JF1-MMA or JF at JF757, who always hits me up with suggestions and stuff. He pointed out that Kenny said that last week, and actually he brought up a great point for me. Oh shit! Let me fuck with my audio since it's being weird. There we go. He brought up a great point that we should think about how to integrate a segment where we call out the best pick that someone had on a podcast, because dudes like Connor Rebush and Phil McKenzie and Zane Simon specifically are goddamn sniping some of these fight matchups pretty goddamn cleanly. Like, I believe Zane Simon last week was the one talking about how, I don't remember if it was Zane or if it was Phil McKenzie, but they definitely talked, one of those two shows definitely talked about the leg kicks against John Jones being a huge factor in that fight, and it 100% was.
Yeah.
I also want to shout out the fact that we did mention if Amanda Nunes uses feints a lot, she can probably set up some big shots on Holly Holm. So I guess shouts to us on that. I think everybody said that, but did mention it. Although I did say Amanda Nunes might get clipped on exchanges, and she did not. Other than that, our MMA show episode or UFC 239 review was solid. I still have trouble telling Jimmy and Ryan apart on the mic. I can't. They sound very similar, and it's something I'm still trying to figure out. Right. Too. I think one of them says O's a little differently than the other one, but it's really tough. And then, yeah, you mentioned Fights Gone By, which was solid. So there was a lot of good shows this week, and I'm excited for next week. I think a lot of people probably went kind of easy this week after the big UFC 239 card, and I'm excited to see what everybody's looking like going forward. So should be good.
Nice.
Cool, man. Well, we will go ahead and wrap this segment here. And
Wait, what about the old?
That's right. I forgot the well-rounded. Shouts out to Co-Man Event Podcast that we talked about. Chris, I'm guessing you have a well-rounded pick for this week.
Yeah, so it's not a podcast, it's actually a music album. Especially if you're into gangster rap. I don't know if you really call it gangster rap. I guess it's more just what I call it now, just like I'm from the hood rap. Anyways,
Just rap.
Or just rap. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's not too many rap subgenres. Well, I mean there are.
There's a lot of rap.
A lot of bad shit. There's a lot of bad stuff too. Anyways, this is definitely not bad. Shouts out to
Blue's. Shouts out to.
So here's a collaboration with Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. Madlib, who you probably know.
Oh, Gangsta Gibbs.
Yeah, and Madlib, who you probably know from Mad Villain when he did a collaboration with MF Doom.
Yeah, that was a fucking great album.
Yeah, great album. But yeah, no, this album bandana is fantastic. A lot of good solid songs on there. They have a lot of good features. I think Anderson .Paak is on there. It's in a few, and I think another. What the fuck else is on there? I can't think off the top of my head, but I just got done listening a couple of days ago. Because I fucks with some Freddie Gibbs.
Yeah, how can you not? Gangsta Gibbs is fucking the truth. That dude has been putting out fire for a while. That's what's up, man. I haven't been listening to a ton of music. Mostly I listen to weird fucking rap at this point in my life. I listen to a lot of OMBPZ. I fucks with some OMBPZ. Still listen to a lot of Chance the Rapper, Earl Sweatshirt. I don't know. I need to get back on DAPIF or something and actually catch up on some shit. Let's see. So my shouts out for this week. I actually have a TV show. Have you seen any of Tales from the Tour Bus?
I have not.
I don't blame you because it's on Cinemax, which I didn't even know was still a thing. But it is.
That's a good point.
It's a show by. Oh god damn it! Why can't I? Oh, Mike Judge. Mike Judge has an animated documentary series.
Yep.
And it's really fucking good. It's interviews. The first season was all about country music, and the second season was all about funk. And it's interviews with everybody. It's kind of like VH1 Behind the Music meets like Drunk History meets, I don't know, some other crazy, like Beavis and Butthead almost. It's kind of fucking crazy. They have George Clinton on there talking about just fucking taking off a robe and like dancing on tables at shows and shit, and just like crazy shit. How George Clinton's house, all the furniture was just big stuffed animals, and George Clinton just like, yeah, crack was crazy. And there's some insane stories. The country one, actually, there was a lot more guns and a lot more drinking, which surprised me.
Well, I mean, if it's country music, that doesn't surprise me. At least the demographic.
But you figure the funk one would have a lot of fucked up party stories and a lot of gun stories. Neither of those really. So pretty wild, but it's a really goddamn fun show. That George Clinton and then a whole bunch of country dudes I don't know. James Brown. Oh god, a bunch of people. There's one chick who's a total fucking badass. That I can't remember the name of right now, but she's fucking fantastic. She was the episode 8 of the second season. She's super fucking dope. It's a great fucking show. So highly recommend that. And then Doug Stanhope Podcast, they finally reached enough Patreon supporters where now they're doing an episode, I believe an episode a month for Patreon exclusively. And yeah, it's great. It's more Doug Stanhope Podcast. If you like the Doug Stanhope Podcast, you'll like it. If you don't like the Doug Stanhope Podcast, you definitely will not like it because it's just more of it.
Yeah, I think it would help to actually like the person you're listening to, or be.
Dude, I don't know. Thanks to this show, I hate listening to a lot of fucking podcasts on accident. Shouts out to you, Brendan Chubb.
Yeah, well, he kind of brings that on himself.
I mean, he literally does. He literally does. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap this segment here. We will be back to quickly talk about Bellator 224 and also break down the UFC Sacramento Duranamy versus Ladd card. So we'll be back in a minute for that. And in the meantime, if you're listening to the podcast version, this is a segment where I'm going to play a clip. I don't know what. Probably Making this decision on the fly. We're gonna play a clip of MMA Junkie Radio episode 2956 where Jorge Masvidal talks about taking Ben to the buffet line.